I think we're almost there. We have telling time, and then we have a quiz, and then a unit test, and we're done. If we do this quickly, I can even get out of here before it's a 2-hour long stream. I try to keep this stream to 2 hours at a maximum. Telling time on a number line. I love this problem set, and I'm actually going to spend a touch of time talking about it because this gives us a chance to count in a system that is outside base 10. Okay? In our system, you know, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you move on to the 10. But in time, you count all the way up to 60 before the hour changes, right? It is a base 60 system. You go through 60 different minutes, and then after 60 minutes, then the hour changes. So it's just like the decimal system, except instead of counting 10 times or 9 times and then moving over a decimal, we're counting 60 times and then moving over an hour. So each of these little lines is going to represent 1 minute. So if I'm looking for 8:35, that's going to be almost right in the middle of 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. So I'm going to say it's either B or C. And again, so long as you keep in mind that we are counting left to right, you can tell that C is 8:30, 8:31, 32, 33, 34. This is 8:35 here. It's C. This is a very interesting way of looking at it. I've never done any problems like this. I've never even conceived of the idea of telling time on a number line, but now that I'm looking at it, I kind of love it. I like that we are representing time in multiple different ways because yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 digital clocks in my easy view right now. But this is just another way to play with numbers and mess with numbers. And when it comes right down to it, once we get back to physical classrooms again, you know, most classroom clocks are still analog. So, you know, a student will want to be able to tell time on an actual clock, assuming that their teacher doesn't let them have their phones out, of course. So 12:30 is right between, it's right exactly in the middle of 12 and 1. So that's C. Look at the following number line. So it looks to me, and this is important too because this is a nice visualization. Do you see how each of the tick marks are a certain length, but they make some of them bigger than others? They make these, that one, and that one, they make them taller than the others. Those are counting by 5. So you can easily see, all right, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, you can count along it using those 5s, and you can see that every 15 minutes it gets it gets even larger. So that's just kind of a visual way to help you maneuver your way around this number line, and it's something that I recommend doing on your own. It's almost like tally marks. Okay, so we're looking at the number line. That looks like 115, 120, 125. I knew to count by 5s and not 10s because of the size of this tick mark. I didn't have to count 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's the power of this whole counting by 5s thing. This number line that you're looking at right now is counting by 5s visualized, and also counting by 15s. What did I just say? 125? 125, not 4. All right, we're looking for 430, and we can either actually look at the 30, or we can recognize that 30 is exactly the halfway point between 0 and 60. So it's going to be the one that's right in the middle. That's B. C looks like, oh wait, it's 330. So B and C both look the same, but if you look at the scaling, C is actually correct because it is 430. B is 330. Tricksy Khan Academy. Very tricksy. I promise I didn't just say Gollum. So, where is 145 graphed on the number line? It looks like it's right in between 140 and 150, so that would be B. Look at the following number line. Well, that's easy enough. It's on one of the times. So this is just a copy paste. That's 445. And then finally, 310. Well, A is 305, so that's not right. But B is 310. Again, since it's on the 10, you can kind of see it really easily, right? So 310, that's B. What is C? C is 315. As you can see, it's between 310 and 320. And that's that. Telling time on a clock. Now, we're already proficient in telling time on a clock. I think that's because I accidentally did this on this account rather than my other account. So we're going to do this again anyway. No, we're going to do this again anyway. And we're going to tell time on a clock. Which clock matches the time shown on the number line? So the number line says 8:05. So we're going to look for the one that says 8:05. And we're going to remember that we are counting by fives when it comes to the minute hand, right? The numbers that are actually on the clock show the hour. It is up to us to remember that the minute hand is actually counting by fives in a clockwise fashion. That's why it's called clockwise. So what we're looking at here is 8:25, not 8:05. B is 8:05. As you can see, quick review, the shorter hand is going to continue to point at the 8 all the way until it gets to 9, right? Even if it's almost at the 9 but not quite, it's still pointing at the 8 until it actually hits the 9. And that's an easy place for students to get caught up. If it gets closer to the 9 than the 8, some students might assume that because it's closer to the 9, it's 9 something. But it's not. It's 8 all the way up until it actually hits that 9 and the minute hand is pointing up. Match the clocks to the correct time. So here's one that looks like it's 1 o'clock, but it's not. Even though it looks like it's pointing directly at that 1, it's not quite there yet. And you can tell it's not quite there yet because the long hand has not hit the 12 yet. So this is not quite 1 o'clock, making it 12:55, which I think is down here. I'll back all the way up, like all the way up. So that's 12:55. This one is the only one that is 05, right? The center one is the only one that has a minute hand going to the 5. So I'm comfortable with that being there, making the top one 11:55. I cannot tell you how much fun I have with students and stuff like this. I love it. It is a very, very humbling thing for a bunch of high school seniors to come into a class thinking they're incredibly hot stuff, and then I say, here's an analog clock, and if I'm really feeling mean, I'll take the numbers off of it, and I'll say, here, what time is it? You're in pre-calculus now, right? This is basic stuff. You should be able to do it. It's amazing how many students don't know this because, again, we don't use analog clocks in our day-to-day life. That's why I think it's so useful to use them as a teaching aid now, even though we don't really see these kinds of clocks much anymore. So that looks like it is 11:05 to me. The big hand is, or the smaller hand is clearly pointing at the 11. I guess I should call it the hour hand is pointing at the 11, and the minute hand is pointing at 1, which is actually 05. So the time is 11:05. Which clock shows 7:30? So we want the one that has the minute hand pointing straight down, right? That's good. Halfway around the circle is 30 minutes. but we want the hour hand to be between the 7 and the 8, not between the 6 and the 7. And C is obviously wrong because the minute hand is pointing in the wrong direction. I like these kinds of problems because they're two problems in one, right? This is a built-in review of what we did last topic, plus reading a clock. We have to know, before we can answer this, that A is 130, 135, 140. So now we need to figure out which one of these is 140. A is tempting because it's definitely 1, but I think this is 5, 10, 15, 20. No, so that's 120. That's 130. C is 140. Match the clocks to the correct time. 6:15, so the only one with a 15 is this one. The only one with the minute hand pointing at 0 is the second one. I didn't even need to look at the hour. All I needed to know is that 15 meant pointing at the 3, o'clock means pointing at the 12, and 30 means pointing straight down at the 6. Telling time on the clock, what time is it here? The hour hand is between the 8 and the 9, so that makes it 8. And eventually, you and your student and whoever else is learning this will get a feel for where each thing is. 3/4 of the way around is 45 minutes. You don't necessarily have to count it up every single time. But again, if your student has to count it up every single time or use their fingers, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, encourage it. Whatever it takes to get the good practice. Moving on. It didn't give me the nice sound that time because I had already done it previously. Sad face. Okay, so we've got quiz 2 on telling time. Let's see, 2:05 is between 2 o'clock and 2:10, so that's A. 12:45, 50, 55, so that is 12. 55, that's another thing about time that's really cool is it goes up to 12 and then resets to 1. That's called modular arithmetic, and it's super advanced, and you can dig really deeply into it and its consequences, which of course we're not going to do in 2nd grade. 9:25 should be right after 9:20, so that would be B. Where is 9:55? Well, that's going to be 5 minutes away from 10 o'clock. And that's sometimes why we say instead of 9:55, we'll say like 5 minutes to 10, right? Because that's the same thing. Instead of saying 9 hours plus 55 minutes, we're saying 10 hours minus 5 minutes. Math is everywhere. Anyway, that was C. Ooh, I should not have done that with my voice this late into a stream. That was not smart. Look at the following number line. What time is shown? Well, again, because these slightly longer tick marks are 5s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can go 7 o'clock, 7:05, 7:10. And that's quiz 2.